All right, now we're in part 2 of our 3-part section in lesson 3 in terms of retouching. We're going to use the rock climbing picture just because the rocks just provide a great texture to mess around with some other tools that Photoshop offers. Notice I've got the rock climber in here. I've got a start and an end. I'm in Bridge right now. Again, we're gonna go back to Bridge every time to start. We got some graffiti that we get rid of over here. There's some graffiti down here, and I know it's tough to see. Let me pull up my thumbnails. Maybe you can see kind of what I'm talking about here. Without making the pull up the preview. No, I guess we'll do it this way. But anyway, we got some graffiti that we got rid of, and there's some pock marks over here on the right side that we got rid of to finish. So let's double click on O3B Start, and that'll fire it up in Photoshop. And you'll notice you get a clearer picture. Here's the graffiti and then the pock marks over here that we're going to try to get rid of as we look at the picture. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Actually, before I even zoom in, I'm going to grab the zoom tool, and I'm actually going to zoom right into the graffiti. So click on that just so you can get a good picture of the graffiti here. We're going to use a couple more brushes that Photoshop offers to change some things. Keep in mind, we already talked about the clone stamp. We already know what that does, and then we did the spot healing, which quite honestly I would tell you you can use any one of these tools and get a good idea as to what's going to look best for your picture. So in this particular case, though, since we are teaching Photoshop, I will show you the other tools as well. So go down to where the spot healing brush tool is. Looks like a Band-Aid. And the one I want you to use is the healing brush tool, which is actually more like a Band-Aid. So I'm going to grab healing brush tool. This works similar to the clone stamp tool in that you have to set a point that you're going to use. So I'm going to go up above the DJ here, up to the top left to try to get the same kind of color combination. I'm going to hold down the Alt key, same thing as a clone brush, but I'm going to set an insertion point there. The difference here is instead of the clone brush where you can lean on the mouse button and paint, this one you're going to kind of accomplish just in strokes. So what I'm going to do is hold down the mouse button, take a stroke down the rock, and then let go. And what that does is a combination of the spot healing and the clone brush, and allows you to cover up some of the rock formations just in one quick swipe. And I'm going to keep going down through, and if you make a nice long vertical strokes, you can blend it in a little bit better than you normally could with a clone brush. So I made some changes there. I want to show you one quick menu that we probably haven't messed around with too much, but it's a pretty important menu. I'm going to go over to the window menu. I'm sorry, I keep saying menu. I meant palette. Go over to the window menu, and I want you to pick the history palette. And what you'll see on the history palette is a list of all of the things you've just done. So if I want to go back through and see some of the changes as I made stroke by stroke, I can just click on each of these stages, and it'll show you the changes that I make as I went down stroke by stroke by stroke. And what you're going to find out invariably when you do photo editing, some things will look good, some things won't look good. So you're going to have a combination of kind of creating or doing a command and then realizing it doesn't look all that great. So you're going to go back to edit. You're either going to undo or you're going to do a bunch of different things and not like anything you do. So the history palette becomes pretty crucial when you want to get rid of a bunch of different commands that you've performed in the past. So we've got it looking good, but let's say I wanted to stop right here for some crazy reason. And I wanted to come back to this. You can save what's called some snapshots in your history palette that'll allow you to go back and revert back to that snapshot. This is going to kind of be a weird way to do this, but I'm kind of happy where I am right here. Although that doesn't look too bad either. So actually I like this spot right here. So this will be good. We are going to save this particular spot as a snapshot. I click on the step that I was on that I like. I go down to the palette, in the bottom of the palette. There's a icon that looks like a little folder, and I say create new snapshot. Thinking hockey there for a second. So here's my snapshot 1. I'm going to click where it says snapshot 1, double click, and I'm going to rename it post _ graffiti. Oops, I got a plus in there. I want underscore. There we go. Graffiti, if I could spell right. Graffiti. There we go. Post graffiti. And I click off. I will always have that snapshot there to work with. If I turn it on, that's where I end up being. I turn it off. I can still go to any part of the healing brush I want, but at least the post graffiti puts me in the spot that I want to be at, and I've got it saved up in the history palette. All right, so that's good. Let's go back. I'm going to zoom out again here. We're going to go to where the pock marks are on the right side of the climber. Right to the right side of the climber, and I'm going to zoom in on that piece right there. We're going to do some other things down here. So there are the pock marks. Expand my picture a little bit. Zoom out just a little bit. All right. I'm going to use what's called the patch tool for this one. This is a pretty cool brush that we can use, or a tool that we can use. Go back to the spot healing and the healing brush, and the third one down is patch tool. I click on that, and I'm just going to play with the pock marks to the right over here, or just to show you what it does. And we're going to actually fix all the marks the same way. So here's what we're going to do. Basically, what I want to do is this is kind of a lasso tool, and I'm going to drag a lasso selection around the pock marks, and you'll see it highlighted and identified. And then once that's done, I'm going to go in there and the cursor will change. So I'm right in the selection, and I'm going to slowly drag up above, and watch what happens. As I drag up above, it basically takes wherever you're dragging and substitutes your new target with the old target. And the minute I let go, it'll grab that piece that we just grabbed up here and replace that piece with this piece that you grabbed up here. So I'm going to do that again with this piece. I'm going to do a selection around it. Oh, let me step back there. Reselect, that was a messy selection. And I'm going to drag up to the right again, and it's going to replace. And then one more. Drag around. So I'm going to drag a little bit up to the right. Replace. I deselect. And I'm done. So we just got rid of all those pock marks. So here we go. Last step in this particular picture. Let's say I did some things I don't like. There's one other brush down here. It's called the healing brush. I'm sorry, the history brush. It looks like a brush with a little arrowhead on it. It's right underneath the clone stamp tool. And I still have my history palette up. And watch what the history brush does. I'm going to go to the top of the history palette. I'm going to click on the empty box next to Post Graffiti. And I'm going to start painting in here. And notice what happens. The history brush allows me to replace what I just did. And let's say I didn't want to, I'll undo that so you can see what the heck happened. Keep in mind, I'm trying to go to the snapshot of Post Graffiti. So in essence, what I'm telling Photoshop to do is, I'm taking this history brush and I'm saying, I want to, wherever I brush, I want to go back to that sampling of where Post Graffiti is. Maybe I like that one last pock mark, and I want to keep it in there. So using my snapshot of Post Graffiti when all the pock marks were here, I can just take my brush and just selectively re-edit to replace things that I've already done. Little bit detailed for you, but in any case, you can understand the power of Photoshop when you start realizing what this history palette does, especially combined with the history brush. Kind of crazy stuff you can have happen. I don't want to do that. I want to get rid of it because I like no pock marks in my rock. And I'm going to pull out, zoom out, and you'll see we get rid of the graffiti on the left side and no pock marks on the right side, and that'll do it for this picture. Again, you can save if you want, but if you don't want to, that's fine too. Just wanted to show you a couple of those palettes.